So today we're going to talk about the most exciting topic we always talk about over here, at least with me, the bris. Yes, today we're going to again go back to bris. Why? Because it's such an essential part of Yiddishkeit. Guys, it's such an essential part of Yiddishkeit that we actually, every single mitzvah, many mitzvahs, there's conditions. What if you have a bris? What if you don't have a bris? So we're learning the laws of Terumah. So the question is, someone has a bris, someone doesn't have a bris. What is the halacha? Not only what if someone doesn't have a bris, let's say someone had a bris, but after had the bris, he made this like a type of surgery to cover over to look like he had a bris. In the times of the Second Temple was the style that for a lot of Jews that tried to go back out of Judaism, they try to make their bris look like they had a bris. They didn't want to look different because in the olden days, sometimes they had to take off their other clothes when they used to fight in arenas and stuff like that. So it was embarrassment to have a bris. So people that would become not religious would make themselves cover their top. So what if somebody does that? So it's very interesting because it's very connected with the whole concept of bris. Because a bris, the whole idea is that you change your body forever. That's what's so unique about a bris. No other mitzvah, you do something with your hand, you get stuck, whatever it is, your hand is the same hand. A bris is a mitzvah with your body that you change yourself forever. And when you recover it, it doesn't really look exactly the same. It's different. So therefore, according to the Torah, no matter what, you had a bris in 8 days, you ever had a bris, you can always eat Terumah. But the rabbi said, they said we can't let people make themselves look like they had a bris, even though if you had a bris, you can't go back. It's a covenant that you can't go back on. But still, they said because you tried to make it look like you didn't have a bris, you can't have Terumah. Now, this mitzvah doesn't say it clearly in the Torah. It's a learn from Korban Pesach. All the sacrifices on the altar, anything that's holy, someone that didn't have a bris can't eat. We know that from Korban Pesach. The Pesach offering, it says, if you don't have a bris, if you have foreskin, you may not eat from the Pesach. But it says also a toisha and a supper. Those are the words in the Torah by the Korban Pesach. It says those same words regarding Terumah. It says the same words regarding other korbanos. Therefore, every single thing that goes on the altar, on the mizbeach, someone which doesn't have a bris cannot eat. Cannot have eaten a drop, not a little bite. That was the 135th mitzvah. The 136th is the mitzvah that someone which is tamei, someone which touched a dead body, somebody which touched a certain type of animal that was dead, he touched any dead animal, he cannot eat Terumah or anything holy till he goes to mikvah. If it's a dead body, he has to wait 7 days. If it is a regular any other thing besides the dead body, he has to go to mikvah and wait that night. If it's actually a certain type of level of Terumah, which is only midrabanan, which is out of Israel, then he can go to mikvah and eat right there and then. Now, what is Israel? Where is Israel? Anybody know where Israel is? For example, Eilat is not part of Israel. No. Actually, even Akko, I don't know, it says in the Rambam it's not part of Israel. Gaza, not part of Israel. So where is Israel? So now, there's 2 times Israel was conquered by Jews. By Joshua, Yeshua, and by Ezra. Ezra is the second temple. Everywhere the Jews lived by the second temple is Israel today. Has the holiness of Israel. Any place where Jews live by the first temple, not anymore. That's true. Which is very interesting. Because that's very interesting. Before Ezra, when Joshua came to Israel, they blew the trumpets and the wall fell down, right? All these they walked through the water and the Jordan went up, split. But when Ezra came, there was no miracles at all. Actually, in the second temple, there was no miracles. In the first temple, I'm not sure, but in the first temple there were many miracles. And in the second temple, there wasn't a revelation of God. Maybe less. In the second temple, they didn't come with a war. They got permission from the king, Koresh, to go build a temple. So they weren't even living in their own land. But the second coming, that's what kept the holiness till today. Second temple, which is the second time they came. Yeah, I realized after I said it, second coming. Yeah, okay. Everyone understands what I mean. I don't mean, of course, Yashka. I mean, everybody here knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so
We'll put a link for Google Glasses.
now, I'll tell you in short, why is it? Many rabbis from the Rambam, actually from the Second Temple, were wondering why Ezra, the Jews coming, which were actually very few Jews, it wasn't too many Jews. Compared to millions of Jews that came from Egypt, this was nothing. Why they're coming to Israel is a cause of holiness till today. Every single part of Israel today, it belongs to every Jew, right? I mean, in general, the whole Israel belongs to every Jew, but the holiness is till today. Why? What did they do? And the answer is they did nothing. They did nothing. But that's the whole point. God came to Moses and said, "Hey, I want you guys to go to Israel. How should you go to Israel? Conquer it." So what does that mean? He wants the Jews to come and rule Israel. That was God's will. So as soon as we don't rule Israel, it's not Israel anymore. It doesn't have the holiness. The second time in Ezra, God didn't tell him to conquer, to go, which means all you got to do is just go. So that is the reason why spiritually in halacha, not in Kabbalah, halacha, in the law, Torah law, the holiness of Israel is if I just walk into Israel and plant a tree, I'm planting it in Israel. Because God changed the rules. He first told Moses, I want you to conquer it. But then he said, no, don't conquer it, just go there. Very interesting. However, that's the holiness of Israel. But the ownership of Israel began by Avram. Hashem they cut up a bunch of animals. He sat right in the middle, went to bed. Hashem told him, this land I gave you already. It's yours. All the way from the river by Egypt till Nahar Paras. This is a massive plot of land. It's yours. The Jews split up Israel when they left Egypt. That's when they split up Israel. They owned it already. When they left Egypt, they were already making every single person that left Egypt, he got a plot in Israel. Plot when he left Egypt. The Jews owned it from Abraham.
Like Avram, they were in front.
Right? Avram, yes, 100%. But Avram owned Israel, and he owns it today. No one can own it. It says in Halacha that if I steal your watch and you give up on it, I own it. I own your watch. But land you can't steal. God gave land to Avram. No one can take it away. And if someone thinks he can make business with it, he just doesn't know what he's doing business with, right? You can't give away a land which doesn't belong to Bibi Netanyahu or to Arafat or whoever Abbas. It doesn't belong to Trump either. It belongs to us. They can't do business with our land, right? Anyway, so there's two lessons. Lesson number one is for us that we should know, no matter what anybody says, Israel is ours. God gave it to us. It doesn't belong to anybody else. They can say whatever they want. Number two is that whoever's sitting in the big chairs in Israel should know that it's not their business. God gave it to us. And we don't need Trump to say it belongs to us because it belongs to us. We don't need to suck up to nobody. It belongs to us. Everyone have a great night.